Hi everyone, my name is Gemma. You may already know me from yoga classes at the Boulder Shack. In that spirit of community, of supporting others in this tough time, I would like to share with you a short practice that you can do at home. It's designed specifically for climbers, so focusing on areas that we would use particularly when climbing, and you don't need much space for this one. It's going to be a floor-based practice. So we're going to start on our mats in a tabletop position. So hands, hey Nala, hello. So this is Nala. She's come to join our practice, but she hasn't quite refined her technique yet. So I best guide you in this one rather than her. Hey Nala. She's very good at downward dog, naturally. So as I was saying, tabletop position, hands directly under shoulders, knees under hips. We're going to take a little cat-cow here. So we start with the gaze down at the mat, so the neck is nice and long, the fingers are spread, giving us a lovely stable base. And just keep a check on your elbows here. If anyone has sort of hyperextensive elbows, you want the elbow creases to be facing towards each other. So take a big breath in, we start to lift the chest and lift the tailbone, just looking forwards here and drawing the chest to the front. Exhale, we press that mat away from us, engaging the fingers, the knees, the shins, and relax the head over. As you inhale, draw the chest between those arms, lift that chin slightly. Exhale, rounding the spine, really squeezing the belly up and in here. Just starting to get that lovely rippling movement up and down the spine, warming the body. And you can just move with your breath here. Every inhalation you open up and lift. Every exhalation you take that lovely rounding. And I'm really relaxing my head here. That neck's nice and soft. And then when you come back to a neutral position, so where the spine is nice and straight again, we're looking down at that mat, we're going to take some little circles of the rib cage. So we start with a little shift of the ribs over to the right side. We drop that chest down. You can take a soften of the elbows, a little bend of the elbows, and then we draw a big circle up and round. So going to that right side first, getting lots of movement in that rib cage. We're staying looking down at that mat, just a nice long spine here. Keep pressing into all of the fingers, so you're nice and engaged here. We don't want to drop the weight into the wrists because that can be damaging for the wrists. And then we'll just change direction, so go up and over, around to the left side, and then coming down. And you can make this as expressive as you want to. So you can really start to drop down and lift up here, drawing bigger circles, and this is a nice way to get a bit of warmth into the elbows here as well, into the shoulders. One last big circle there, and we finish back at the centre. And then we're just going to take a little bit of a rock forwards and backwards. So I'm still nice and spreading the fingers here, pressing into all of the knuckles. So my fingers are really engaged. This prevents any dumping in the wrists here, which is what we want to avoid. So just warming a little bit into those wrists. So this is a nice way to warm up for climbing as well. Just softly bringing that little bit of weight into the wrists. And then coming back to that central position again, we're going to drop down onto the elbows. You've got two options for this one. You can either have the hands flat down, or if you've got those good old climbing shoulders like I do, you can bring the hands together to form a little fist. So you're crossing all the thumbs on the top, but you can release those little fingers to stop them getting all squashed underneath. And you're going to keep nice and strong. So you can see I'm starting to push through the chest. I'm not dropping my body down. I'm staying nice and engaged in the upper body. So this is a really lovely one for strengthening the shoulders. And we're going to step all the way back and bring a little bit of strength to that core as well. So this is our nice dolphin plank. You can see my wrists are still nice and straight. I'm pressing through the shoulders. My neck is nice and long. And I'm going to push gently out into the heels here, really hugging that belly in, trying to keep the hips in line with the shoulders. And we'll stay here for one more big breath, just starting to feel a bit of warmth come to the body. Knees are going to come down. Separating those hands, we're going to come all the way down onto the belly and just widen the hands apart so you can drop all the way onto the chest. Keeping the feet nice and heavy, we're going to have the legs together for this one. As you inhale, you start to lift the chest, lift the chin, but keep the belly nice and strong here. So I'm squeezing my belly button in. If you've got no lower back problems, you can have a little hover of the hands as well. You might feel you're starting to feel the toes pop a little bit here. Try and keep the legs nice and heavy. The pelvis is connecting down towards the mat. And then exhale to release. Take a breath there on the mat. And then inhale, coming up again. Again, really squeeze with that upper back here. This is a lovely strengthener for the upper back. All those climbing muscles, all that pulling that we do. Exhale, release. And we're going to take a little variation. So hands come around behind. We're going to interlace those fingers again. Thumbs are on top. And we're going to start to draw those knuckles back as we lift the chest. Maybe looking forwards, maybe looking down. Be gentle on that neck. Starting to roll the shoulders back and feel that space we're creating. So classic opening of the chest here, which is really nice as climbers. It's taking that opposite to what we usually do. Exhale, coming all the way back down. Hands are going to come under shoulders so we can press all the way back up. And just adjust yourself so you're back on that hands and knees, that all fours, knees directly underneath the hips. And then just imagine you've stuck a pin down through that thigh. So the hips are stuck where they are, they can't move. We're going to start to walk the hands forwards, padding down onto the elbows. And again, keeping a little squeeze of the belly, as if you're just trying to draw the belly button in. We start to walk the hands away. If it's comfortable for the spine, for the lower back, we can begin to drop down, maybe resting on the forehead here. You'll see my fingers are still nice and spread. I'm pressing into the tops of my feet here to keep my hips in the right place. And starting to lengthen through the shoulders and the arms. Another nice variation is to pop those hands off and maybe we can look forwards. But again, be really gentle on the neck. If it's not working for you, you just keep down on that forehead. And I'm really pressing out into the fingertips here. My shoulders are starting to open up. So this is a wonderful one for opening across that shoulder girdle, which often is quite compromised in climbers. Hands come back down, just walking them back in, slowly come back onto your elbows, up onto hands. And we're just going to take the spine in the opposite direction now, rounding that head over, finding a lovely old cat, pressing into hands, into the knees, really hug that belly in. And then gently softening down, we're going to sit back to the heels. I'm going to turn to face you for this one. So coming to what we call our eagle arms, we broaden out, really open across the chest. Just check you're not pinging the shoulders up as you do so, nice soft shoulders. And we'll start with that right arm coming over the top of the left. You can see I'm just hooking at the elbows here, and I start to reach the hands up towards the sky. If that's not possible for you, and it may not be, it's quite common for us to have restrictions in the shoulders as climbers, you can take this variation instead where you're pressing the forearms and the palms together. The instructions afterwards are going to be the same, so whether you're here or whether you're here, you're taking the fingertips up to the sky. You might be able to find another little wrap and get the palms towards each other, but don't worry if you can't for the moment. You're taking the fingertips up, so away from the face. You drop the shoulders down, give them a little wiggle if they need, and then we start to lift those elbows. So you might be here, you might be creeping the hands towards each other, you might even have the backs of the hands towards each other for now. And nice big breaths here. You should start to feel this stretching across the upper back, particularly into that right shoulder. And if you're here, you're exactly the same. You're starting to lift the elbows slightly, feeling that opening across the upper back. And then as you exhale, you can unwrap those arms, maybe have a little roll of those shoulders, feel that little bit of difference, that bit of space we found, and then we head over to the other side, so taking the left over the top of the right, or of course bringing those forearms together if that works better for you. If the elbows aren't crossed, then we need to go with this variation. So if we've got that cross of the elbows, either reaching the hands up or maybe finding a little double wrap here for our eagle. Shoulders drop down, give a little wiggle down, make sure they're not creeping up. And then you can start to lift those elbows, fingertips going up towards the sky. Beautiful stretching and opening for that upper back here. Let those breaths come big and deep, and just make sure that you're not bringing your hands towards your forehead here. They're really going up above you for this one. And then exhale, slowly unwind those arms. I'm going to slide off to the side now, bring my feet around in front. So you're going to have the feet a slight distance away from the body. I've got a hip distance gap between the knees and the feet, so my legs are nice and parallel the whole way down. Hands are going to come just behind me, and they're either pointing forwards or maybe slightly out to the side, just depending on what feels comfortable for your wrists. Pressing down to those palms as you inhale, lift the chest, opening up through the shoulders. Exhale, softening down. Inhale, open and lift. Start to send those hips up maybe. Giving a little squeeze of the glutes. You're pressing down into the heels. Opening maybe the gaze up to the sky, but we're not dropping the head all the way back here. Really press into heels, press into the hands. And then slowly release. So this is our lovely E-stretch or reverse tabletop. Really great for strengthening the glutes into the backs of the legs as well. And of course, opening across that chest. I find this a really nice release for the fronts of the shoulders here. I'm going to take another round. Inhale, lift the chest. Start to slide those hips up. I'm doing a video. Don't you worry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry. We'll cut it out. So we're going to go for another round here. So inhale, lift the chest, slide those hips up, really think about pushing the knees forwards away from you, and then see if you can get that extra little lift on the chest here. Exhale, slowly releasing down. Give a soft little hug over those knees. And then shuffling forwards, we're going to come all the way down onto the mat. Hands alongside shoulders. How long is it going to be?
Me?
Yeah.
This. 40 seconds.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
know that.
that's okay.
I couldn't move at all. I need to pick up this as well, but...
I've paused it because it was making a lot of noise, but I'll still start it again in a second. I won't be long.
Ah, okay.
So bringing those hands down alongside the body, we're pressing down into palms. And once we come into this bridge pose, we're going to make sure we're not moving the head from side to side. That's the most important thing. We want to really protect the neck here. So we're looking straight up towards the sky, the palms pressed down to the mat. You might feel you want to walk the heels in slightly, but they're coming fairly close towards the buttocks. Pressing down into the heels. As you inhale, you start to little hover of the hips, and then softly bring them back down. So squeezing the belly as you inhale, start to lift the hips a little bit higher, and then gently rolling them back down again. Pressing down into those feet as you inhale, start to send the hips up nice and high now. So you're starting to squeeze with the glutes, pressing down into the heels, and maybe we get a little wiggle up onto the shoulders. Still finding some contact through those hands to really ground us down. And this is a wonderful one for strengthening into the lower back, particularly into those glutes again. Those glutes are the things that keep us squeezed onto the climbing wall, keep us nice and close to the wall, keeping those hips in. And then we can slowly roll our way down. Of course, if you get any tightness or discomfort in the lower back, do just make your way out, or in the neck as well. And let's come up for one more round. So as you inhale, squeeze the belly, send those hips soaring up. And if you'd like to, you can take a little lift of the heels here, maybe one at a time, maybe both together. And feel how that starts to activate the hamstrings, the calf muscles as well, as you really push into the balls of the feet. And then slowly rolling back down. Give a hug of the knees in towards the chest. Maybe have a little rock from side to side if that feels nice. Just softening out through the lower back. And then we're going to finish with a nice little twist. So this is lovely for just realigning the spine. This is good for any kind of exercise, or it's a really nice relaxation as well. If you've been sat at your desk all day, this might be spot on for your lower back. So opening the arms out in a nice wide T shape. We can have the knees up high, or we can have them flat down on the mat to start with. It's your choice. This version is going to be slightly softer for the lower back. If we have the knees up to the chest and bring them down, this is going to be a bit of a stronger twist. So you might find that on different days, you'll be wanting different things from your twist. So as you exhale, you drop both knees over towards the ground, feeling that this left shoulder is really pinned down as the knees go to the right. And I can push down into the backs or the palms of the hands to keep that connection in the shoulders. Either staying looking up, or you can look over towards the opposite hand if you'd like to. Taking a couple of long breaths here. Feel free to adjust the knees if you need to. And then hugging those knees back up to center. We go over towards the left side. Knees can drop straight down. Again, try and keep this right shoulder pinned down. That might mean you're pressing the hand into the mat. And you can stay looking up if that's better for your neck, or you can look over. So you're just bringing the twist into your neck, into that upper section of the spine here. Big breaths here. Feel that lovely ringing out sensation through the middle. That beautiful opening of the chest. And then softly squeezing back to center. You can have one last little knee hug here if you want to. And then slowly making your way back up. Come to sit on your mat. So that was our short and sweet little flow for today. Hopefully just a little bit of space and time to get you moving, particularly if you've been sat a lot at your desk. There's some really nice postures in there to keep building that strength for climbing, but also a little bit of balance, so a little bit of opening and stretching for those areas that we use most in our climbing as well. Namaste everyone. Thank you for watching.